brothers and sisters in Christ. Today I'm going to give a speech about our family trip to India. We were there for 3 weeks. We just got back yesterday morning on Saturday. And while I was there, I was daily diarying about what I was learning and what I saw around me. And one day I decided, while I was reading, that this should be shared to you guys, since you guys would definitely be able to relate to it. So I emailed Achin. I told him, Achin, I've been here for 3 weeks, and I want to give a speech when I come back. Achin said one word to me. He said, okay, in lowercase, okay, he said, okay. So I was thinking, man, what is Achin thinking, huh? He must have the utmost confidence in me, in my speech-giving skills, or he definitely knows that I can give speeches. So I decided to go for it, and I started brainstorming my ways of giving the speech, and I first came to the conclusion that I definitely must wear Munda. You know, I'm coming from India, it's a speech about India, I gotta wear Munda. And then I come back on Saturday, and it's freezing cold out here. And it was really tough in the morning to come out here like this, but I'm happy that I did. I wanted to make sure I got I wanted to make sure I was emanating my Indianness, so I also grew out my beard, my mustache, like Misha Madhavi, you know? So let's get into my speech. First topic that I still want to talk about is still Munda, but it's actually a kaili. When I was still staying here in America, my dad brought me a kaili, which is a Munda you wear at home. And I first started wearing this, like pajamas or something as you go to sleep. My mom always tells me about stories about Apachins, who when they go to sleep, they always wear a Munda. So they use it as like a kambi, or like a blanket. And I never really understood the significance of that until I went to India. The climate is so hot and humid that you cannot wear a normal pull-up that we do here, right? So when I'm sleeping there in India, you need something like a Munda. My brothers, however, did not share that enthusiasm for Munda as I did. The uncles here would definitely be able to relate on how important and how powerful a Munda is, especially in India. It is second to none when it comes to air convection and everything like that. One of the things about India, even though it has a really bad, hot and humid climate, is that you never have to moisturize when you're there. When I was here, especially now when it's so cold, I'd have to moisturize at least 3 times a day before and after showering and whatnot. In India, not once did I have to moisturize. It was the greatest feeling for me. One of the days when I was in India, I woke up to the fresh smell of chanagam. We live in a village. My dad bought a house in a village, and throughout the weeks that we were staying there, I got accustomed to it, and I kind of miss that smell now. It was a really bittersweet, fresh smell. The thunderstorms in India, however, are much, much louder than it is here. I imagine it is because of the climate. You know, it's the monsoon seasons and everything. One day when we were staying there, a thunderstorm came, and the current went out. It was dark, and my mom was so scared. The thunder was louder than I've ever heard it before. My mom was afraid the thunder would strike us inside our own homes. I was a bit worried. One thing I really did enjoy was the food, especially since I had to do none of the cooking myself. The food over there always tastes better because it's so fresh. You know, you get it right out of your backyard. You can always go to a restaurant and they give you masala dosha all the time. It's been great. Sometimes I would carry a few small bananas in my pocket when I go out to restaurants because they may not have it, So after I eat my masala dosha, I pull out my banana, I peel it open, and I eat it. It's my banana holster. But you gotta be careful there. When you're in India, you gotta be careful. Don't drink the tap water, especially if you're in a restaurant. But if you're at home, the tap water is not so bad. This one day I had some pretty bad diarrhea. I would really wish you guys don't imagine it, but it was pretty bad. But I remember a saying that I learned, a lesson that I learned in Winter Summit. It was that suffering and sickness is an opportunity for us to test our faith with God. I thought of a moment in the Bible when Jesus was walking on the water and Peter himself got up and walked with him. And he was staying afloat the whole time until he lost his focus on Christ. When he lost his focus on Christ, he started to sink. So I learned that when you're in those kind of positions, when you're in sickness, and you're suffering, you should look at it as an opportunity to keep God as your focus in order to grow in our faith. I haven't been sick very often, so I always have this very big confidence that I don't get sick at all. Usually it's through food poisoning, but even though I came here today in the cold, I'm not very sick. I do have a bit of a runny nose because of the cold and the hot differences, but it's important for me to remember that, to be humble and such. Bless you. When I was in India, I was staying with my Amachi for a few days, 4 days at least. And my brother and I, we arrived at the house of our aunts, and then we stayed with her. And to our surprise, there was no Wi-Fi there. No Wi-Fi. That was a very difficult time for us, especially the first day. But luckily I had church. Yeah, I'll explain why. You see, on the Wednesday that we arrived there, was Denaha Pernama, which means Denaha Festival, which is a baptism festival. I went to an Orthodox church there, my cousin's church, and if it wasn't for church, I would have been reading these books all day, and I would have actually started to like reading them. And we didn't want that. On the first day, on Wednesday, we had a rasa, which is like a parade. We went around all over, not all over Kerala, but our area. We were parading, and just like we do out here, we would go around the streets. But this time they had like groups, bands and drummers playing around, and seeing that kind of honor to our own religion and being able to express it was such an amazing view for me to see. But the other times when we had no Wi-Fi, me and my brother, we found ways to keep ourselves entertained, whether it be just sitting in nature next to Ramachi, looking at birds, cats, plants and such. There was this one plant that attracts butterflies only towards it, and there were some beautiful butterflies that we would always see around it. But then I personally also found that having no what do we call it? A time pass. Like when we have Wi-Fi, we have our phones and stuff, we have something to give our attention to. When I didn't have that, I was able to actually focus on my own imagination, my own creativity. And you don't really get that when out here, when we're always so bombarded with all these stimulations in our phones and such. But when I was there, I did really enjoy that quiet part, the quiet times when I was there. One of the most amazing things that I saw there was when me and my dad, we went shopping. We were going to go buy some Ethika buns. Went to one of these stores, and the attendant there, or the store clerk, was a Malaysian guy. You know, I thought he was Chinese. And he started speaking Malayalam to my dad, and I was so amazed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He was speaking perfect Malayalam. They were discussing the prices for the ethical. They thought it was too high. We were all debating. My dad and the Malaysian guy was debating. When I saw this happening, it reminded me of Pentecost. I was thinking this must have been what it was like to see other people speaking your own mother tongues. But more so in Pentecost, I think it was that people were speaking in other people's mother tongues, but also being able to express their feelings completely. One of my least favorite experiences in India was actually in church. What happened was, after kind of we're putting the money in, everybody's trying to get the cost for lunch in so we can go out and eat. In India, all the uncles are nudging you from the back, pushing you to get through really quickly. I imagine it was because of the food. They want to get to the food really quickly. At the time when I was experiencing this, and my brother was experiencing this, we didn't understand what was happening. We thought, we didn't know what was happening, but eventually I figured out what the reason was that they were pushing so much for. And I think why that happened was because of the traffic in India. You guys know when you're driving in India, you don't have any time to hesitate. You know, you have to overtake your opponents really quickly, otherwise you'll make a mistake. I thought it was a really similar situation, and I thought it kind of explained why the uncle were pushing and shoving to get through the line. My mom and my dad went to a government office. She was telling me about you can't just wait in there. You can't just wait your turn. If you want something to get done, you gotta get up front. You gotta make sure they know you're here. You gotta go and get what you need. In India, they don't actually have that kind of customer service as you would expect over here. So when we were visiting a couple of cities like Bengaluru or Mysuru, we booked a couple of hotels. We arrived at the place for our booking, and there was some kind of problem with it through our booking app. They wouldn't let us book through it, and we would have to pay an even more amount. Unfortunately, we did. A couple of days later, we found an Airbnb which didn't have any of those problems. And my recommendation is, if you guys ever go to India, or like for the cities, you should definitely book an Airbnb. Don't go through hotel apps. Throughout the family vacation, me, my brothers, my parents, and I, we've been really close to each other in proximity. And we had our fair share of fights and all. Especially with that hotel thing. It was really, really, really disgusting. But being so close to our families really was, being so close to my family was such a gift for me. I figured out, my parents proposed an idea. What sets family and friends apart? My dad answered, family you can't avoid. Your friends will move in and out of your life. Your family members will not. There's a lot more to this, but I just wanted to get that out there for you guys. One of the things that I noticed, one of the last things I noticed in Kerala was its infrastructure, at least in the north, you know. They say Kerala is one of the richest states in India. But when you go around, you see the buildings, they're not too crazy, unless you're in a city like Tiruvalla. I was told that a lot of Kerala people put their money in gold. They put it in sornam and keep it locked away in a cabinet. I think this goes against what we want. If you don't use what you have, if you don't put it into the system, then the world around you, the environment, wouldn't be able to change. So one of the things that I noticed, the infrastructure was so out of date compared to the houses that were there. You know, the houses were magnificent and whatnot, but the infrastructure, like the government buildings, were all out of shambles. the end of this trip, at the end of this speech, I just wanted to say thank you for my mom and my dad who planned everything out, who cooked all my meals, bought me the meals for my restaurant, my food, and my clothes. And it was really such a calm, relaxing vacation for me. I really appreciated it. Thank you. Thank you for listening to St. Stephen's.